Yo, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about changing your identity through changing your environment. And this is a topic I talk about with my clients one on one who I take through my elevated identity course. But I just feel like this is so vital that I got to share it with the public, and I just can't keep it behind a paywall because I think every guy who's trying to change their life, their identity, carry across, build a business, whatever it might be, needs to hear this. So first thing I need you to understand is that 90% of our thoughts are recurring. And that does not mean that the other 10% are like life-changing thoughts. The other 10% could quite literally be, what am I going to eat for dinner tonight? Like that can be what's comprising of your 10% of new thoughts. But for the most part, 90% of our thoughts are the same repeating narrative in your mind. So if you want to change who you are and change your identity, you have to change these thoughts. How do we change those thoughts? Well, we have to change our environment. We need a literal pattern interrupt. When you were scrolling on social media today, maybe watching Instagram Reels, and something just jumped out at you and you felt so curious, you felt hooked, you had such a pattern interrupt that you had to watch that video. It forced new thoughts in your mind when you watched that. That pattern interrupt got you. Otherwise, you would have scrolled on. So how do we create pattern interrupts in our everyday life that point us toward the man we want to become, that make us so curious and make us take action toward becoming that man and building that new identity? Well, it's through changing your environment, because when you're in a new environment, you're forced to make new decisions. Take the example, if I were to drop you off in a foreign country tomorrow, nearly every single thought you would have throughout the day would be brand new because you'd be in a foreign place. You've never been there before. You don't know how to get to the grocery store. You don't know where you should sleep. You don't know where you should go for everyday needs. Where should you go work? You don't know. Every single thing would be brand new. Your mind has never had those inputs before, so you'd be forced to have new thoughts and make new decisions every day. Obviously, we can't just go drop ourselves off in a foreign country and start new. If you can, you see a lot of guys do it. These digital nomads going to foreign countries and having insane amount of growth for obvious reasons because they're entirely changing their environment. But what can we do within our current environment to make these changes that point us toward that man we want to become, that point us toward making the decision obvious? So you hear this all the time, make the obvious choice. I think we should really think about it this way. Make the choice obvious through changing your environment. Make growth the only option. And a step-by-step in how to do this is, number one, you have to know where you're trying to go. You need a vision. You must know who you're trying to become to know how to cultivate and curate an environment that is in alignment with that man. For an example, I want to scale Elevate. I want to scale my community and I want to reach millions. Elevate is on my hat right now. Elevate is on my hoodie right now. Elevate is behind me on this screen. How many inputs of Elevate in my vision for this business, and how many times am I pointed toward the future in my everyday life? Countless amount of times. So just an example there. You have to know where you're wanting to go in order to craft an environment in alignment with it. Number two, identify what actions can I take to become that man? And start with the lowest hanging fruit. So if you have a vision for who it is you want to become, what actions can you take that are in alignment with that guy? Maybe that guy's jacked. Maybe that guy wears more put together clothes. Maybe that guy does something as simple as gets a fresh haircut every 2 weeks. If that's the lowest hanging fruit, get a freaking haircut appointment on your calendar every 2 weeks. The actions that you can take in alignment with that guy every single day are going to stack up. They're going to give you confidence, and they're going to give you proof that you can become that man and point you back to that man that you are aiming to become every single day, whatever it is. And then number three, align. Curate your environment in every way to point you toward those actions, to make the choice obvious, to make growth your only option. If you woke up today and you had a home gym sitting right in front of you, how more likely are you to hit a workout if it's right there, big, in your face, obvious? If you woke up today and you had the Bible open on your counter, oh, here's my example. It's exactly what I had literally this morning. So before I went to bed last night, I left my Bible open to John 20, which is where I'm reading in the Bible today. And to literally not read the Bible today, I would have had to walk past that countless times on my counter and either close it and dismiss it, or that is the exact spot of where my Bible's sitting as to where my breakfast plate goes. So, in order to eat breakfast, I would have had to move my Bible out of the way and continue to make 10, 20, 30 decisions to not read the Bible and to do countless other things as I walked past my open Bible and made the decision to not sit down and take the 10, 15 minutes to read John 20 today. So I made the choice obvious. I made growth look like the only option. The habit of reading the Bible was literally glaringly obvious in my morning because of what I did to set myself up. But environment does not just limited to your physical space around you. So what else does environment look like? Digital environment is a massive one. We are getting so many inputs. We are consuming so much and being programmed by what we're seeing on social media. So I'll give you guys just a story from my life. For example, I used to listen to 2 to 3 podcasts every single day religiously. Well, I went on this big stretch where I was like, you know what? I have enough information. I've consumed enough. I need to just go take action, not keep educating myself and just start focusing on taking action. While that thought was really good, I quickly realized that I needed the podcast, not because it was earth shattering or life-changing information at times, just because it was the reminder. It kept me pointing towards the man I wanted to become. It kept me thinking about how I'm going to grow my business. It kept me just sitting there curating new thought patterns in those 90% of recurring thoughts. When you hear something from an Alex Hormozy and Ed Milet that makes you think, it breaks up and interrupts those 90% recurring thoughts about how you're operating, about how you're building your business, building your life, whatever it might be. So your digital environment, who you're following, what you're consuming, what you're even posting is so vital. Second point, the people around you, not just your physical space that you live in, but who are you surrounding yourself with? What conversations are you having daily? I can say that I lacked this. I lacked people around me who were wanting to push and pursue personal excellence. I'm talking growth in every area of life: faith, health, wealth, relationships, all of the above. So I went and started a community called Elevate. That's why I got Elevate everywhere. And now we're up to 200 men who are pursuing that personal excellence. So as you can imagine, every time I have a conversation, which is a lot, and you have 200 people within your community, every conversation I have is about faith, health, wealth, and relationships. We're talking about growth constantly. When I see these guys post, when I see these guys show up in my notifications, I am pointed toward the man I want to become. I'm surrounded by guys who are constantly pointing me toward my faith, pointing me toward the best version of myself, encouraging me, supporting me. They are a huge piece in my environment that makes up that 90% of my thoughts that helps me to push toward the man I want to become, not toward the complacent man that I was before. Another big thing that I did outside of start this community and grow it to 200 men who are in alignment with that is I physically moved across the country. You know, they say move out of the hometown, so much growth will happen. And it's absolutely the truth, because it's putting yourself in a brand new environment. It's forcing you to bet on yourself, to think bigger, to make bigger moves. And what I did is I moved from Indiana to Florida, and I moved in with one of my best friends who was sharpening me, has his own business, has his own faith in God, has his own desire to become the best version of himself. So living with a guy who pointed me back toward that every single day was massive. The people who surround me, again, it goes back to that. But I put myself in that new environment. I forced those new thoughts, those new inputs every single day, and it forced me to grow. And then once growth gets stagnant, guess what? You make another move. I'm not saying you got to move across the country, but you got to change your environment. You got to keep your environment changing. Otherwise, you will get complacent. You will get stagnant. I ended up making another big move out to Colorado, which absolutely love it here. Beautiful spot. But I hope that this is all making sense for you guys. And I'm telling you guys, the easiest way to change your identity is to change your environment. God bless, and let's keep growing together. Let's go.